Okay, folks, so let's say we want to blink a light. So the very first thing we can do, by the way, we're going to blink a light, make it go faster and faster and faster blinking. But it's going to stop at one point. You'll see what I mean here. First off, we obviously have to set the pin mode of whatever pin we're going to use. I'm going to go ahead and use a variable for this. So I'm just going to call int means I'm going to make a variable. I'm going to call it LED. And this is where you would just put what pin number you want to use. Let's say you're going to use pin number 7 and then semicolon, right? So this just says I'm going to use a pin number. Sorry, this is going to be making a variable. So makes an integer variable. That means that my variable has to be a whole number, by the way, called LED and sets it to 7. So sets it equal to 7. All right, so here in my setup, you could, by the way, you could delete this line of code. Arduino just puts that automatically. You don't need it. Pin mode, LED, that's the pin number, number 7. And I'm going to make it an output because it's just going to light up something for me. I'm going to make a little space here just to make this nice and neat. And notice that all my code goes between here and here. We have to have those, okay? Do not delete those or things don't work. I'm going to go ahead and delete this line too. And then we want to blink it, right? So I'm going to go from here to here. And so we're going to go digital right pin 7, right? So we'll just call it LED. And we're going to turn it on. So make it go high. And then delay. We're going to delay a certain amount of time. For now, I'm going to put 500, but we're going to change this in just a second. And digital right the LED pin and turn it off. But then, of course, we need to delay some time before we go back and turn it back on. Because remember, this is a loop, and it'll loop everything from here to here. So it'll do this, this, this. Then we have to wait a little bit of time before it goes back and turns it on. Otherwise, it'll turn it off and immediately turn it back on. You won't even see it turn off. It'll be so fast. So it'll look like it's always on. All right, so we want to blink this faster and faster and faster. So we kind of done this lesson before, but let's see here. Integer. I'm going to create a variable called counter. You cannot call it delay. You see how it changes color? That's a code. I kind of want to call it that, but I can't. That's a code inside of Arduino, so we can't call it that, but we can call it anything you want. So I'm just going to put it counter, and I'm going to set it equal to, I don't know, 1,000. So 1,000 milliseconds. So here we could just write the word counter instead, and counter. And now those are 1,000 each. So 1 second on, 1 second off. But I want it to change. So every single time it goes through a loop, I'm going to say set the counter variable, the one that I made before. I want you to take its value and subtract off 50. And this will make it go faster and faster. So it's going to turn on. It's going to wait 1,000 milliseconds. Then it's going to turn it off and wait 1,000 milliseconds. But then it's going to take the 1,000 milliseconds, take away 50, and it's going to set it equal to that. So then this will be 950. So then when it goes around here, it's going to turn on for 950, turn off for 950 milliseconds, a little bit less than a second. Then subtract 50 again, which will make it 900, and then 850, and then next loop 800, 750, 700, and faster, 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 faster. But the problem is, at one point, it's going to become 0 or negative, and that's weird because you can't put a negative time here. We don't even want to put a 0 time here because then you'll never see it off. It'll turn on, but then immediately turn off. So it's just going to be blinking so fast that it just looks like it's always on. So we want to add a little something here. I don't want this to always do this. I want to do it if counter is bigger than or equal to, I don't know, let's say 100 or something, or 150, you could choose. I'm going to put 100. But when we write this if code right here, when we say if, we have to put a condition. That's our condition. So if what? If this thing in the parentheses. And this can be pretty long. You can put some long code in these parentheses. But this is simple. It just says if the counter variable is bigger than or equal to 100, then do this code. Do what code? I need curly brackets. Do this code from here to here. So I could delete that line off. I'm going to put a little space here so you can make a little bit. Oops. Control Z. Enter. There we go. I'm just putting space here so you can see my if statement. And here we go. Now, traditionally, they put the curly bracket right after the line of code in here, but you don't have to do this. So if you want to see this a little nicer and neater, I can do this. I can do. There you go. I prefer it like this. So if counter variable is greater than or equal to 100, then do this. So will it do it the very first time? Oh yeah, of course, because this is 1,000. So of course it's going to do it. If counter is greater than, it is greater than. So it's going to subtract 50. But it's going to keep doing it over and over again to 550 and down to 500 and 350s and 300 and 250 and then 200 and then 150. And then it's going to go to one. After it gets to 150, it's going to say, is 150 bigger than this? Yes. So subtract this. Then set it equal to 100. So this will be 100. Then it does it, waits 100 milliseconds, turns it off, waits 100 milliseconds, and then it says if counter is greater or equal to 100. Well, it is equal to 100. It's not greater, but it's equal. So it's going to say, okay, go ahead and do it. 100 minus 50 is 50. So then it's going to go and wait 50 milliseconds, and it says if counter is greater than or, well, that's not true anymore. The counter is not bigger or equal to 100. It's equal to 50, so it's not going to subtract. So it's going to get stuck at 50 milliseconds. So that's going to be the lowest we have is 50 milliseconds. So in your assignment, make sure you're doing this. You put a comment at the end of every line of code. Put a comment here. That shows me that you know how to do it. A comment here, comment here, comment here, comment here. You could create a comment here as well. An if statement that says it won't work unless this is true. And then here's our execution code that works only if this is true. And this has to be between this curly bracket and this curly bracket. Now pay attention. You still have to have this one and this one, right, for the loop. So this is the beginning of the loop and this is the end of the loop. You got to still have that one. I'm just adding another one, and notice that it finds the partner is connected to this one right here. It's this one little tiny one line of code inside this if statement. And that should do it. If you want to add a little space here, you can to clean this up. Like I said, if you want to put those on other lines, you can and clean this up a little bit like that. I prefer them on other lines. You can do that. So remember, this is the beginning. This is the end of the loop. This is the beginning. This is the end of the if statement. This is the beginning and the end of the void setup. Our variables are global. We make them before all of it, way here at top, okay? So that's it. And now you should see at the very end, it's going to be blinking very quickly around here. Go ahead and play with any numbers you want. You don't need to have exactly my pin number, exactly this beginning number, or it only count if this. You want to change this, that's fine. Go ahead and change it. I'm okay. I'm not grading that. I'm going to be grading and checking off whether or not you have comments everywhere and whether or not this works. All right, so that's it.